Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And this week, we're talking about 1987's Masters of the Universe. We assume if you're listening to this episode, you've already seen the movie.
All right, so we have a very special guest with us this time. One of my favorite professional wrestlers, a guy who makes He-Man look like Prince Adam. Enjoy that reference because it's not in the movie. The genetic jackpot, Joe Coleman.
That's right, and you know what? I was watching Dolph himself, and I was like, I feel like I might be bigger than this man. I don't know. I think I could take He-Man, load him up for the fat burner and the 1, 2, 3. He can't use a sword in a wrestling match, so he's got no chance.
I mean, you're lucky in that he barely uses a sword in this movie as it is.
I'd be worried about him and guns, though.
That's why they made the Skeletor's minions like robots, so he kind of could use the sword. And obviously it was all about pushing toys, right? So he can't go stabbing people, unfortunately.
All right, so before we get into the actual movie talk, I do just want to ask what your relationship with the franchise is prior to this. I know you and Ben are both seemingly big fans of Masters of the Universe.
Man, it is heavily ingrained in my DNA. As a matter of fact, my older brother, he's 7 years older than I am. He got to pick my middle name when I was born, and because He-Man was so big at the time, my middle name is Adam because Prince Adam turns into He-Man. So
I was worried you were going to say Orko.
No.
Better than
that would
Gwildor.
be actually pretty cool because there's no mistaking what that is. But so it was that, and then obviously I grew up with the toys because he was an only child for 7 years, so I had everything to play with, which was cool. You know, he'd be at school and I'd be digging in this toy chest, reaching in, and I'd pull out. It was like a mystery every time I'd pull something out. I still vividly remember it. So there were Star Wars in there, Thundercats, Silverhawks, everything. But you know, there were just a plethora of He-Man guys. So He-Man was definitely the biggest toy line we were into growing up. So I mean, I was just all in, so heavily invested, and this is definitely one of the very first movies I even saw in theaters. It's either He-Man, Superman 4, or Monster Squad. If we ran the release dates, we'd probably be able to narrow it down. I think it's Superman 4, but vividly remember seeing it in theaters. So I love this movie. Love Masters of the Universe, and I'm pumped for Revelation coming out later this month.
Yeah, it's partially why we decided to do this movie was because of Revelation coming out. Ben, do you want to quickly just tell people what your relationship with Masters of the Universe is?
Oh, yeah, sure. I grew up playing with the toys. I loved it. It was because of He-Man that I learned how to program my Betamax VCR to record because I was in school when it would air.
So you guys have great backgrounds with it. I had never seen it before. Not even the cartoon show. For those who don't know, I wasn't born in Canada. We didn't have this stuff in Croatia when I was a kid. And when I got to Canada, I'd kind of just missed that era of like He-Man and Thundercats and got into Ninja Turtles. My background with Ninja Turtles is kind of almost like you guys with Masters of the Universe. The live-action Ninja Turtles was the first time I saw them in theater. So this week was actually the first time I saw this movie, as well as the cartoon show, which Ben gave me a little bit of homework watching, a couple episodes that introduced characters, and I'm glad I did, because none of them were in this movie.
There's a couple. Come on. We had Evil Lyn, we had Beast Man, Man-at-Arms, and Teela. There were a couple.
Let's not forget the classic Karg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the cartoon. I don't remember the cartoon episode with Blade. Where does he show up?
Well, you know what the logic for those characters was, don't you?
It's to introduce a new line of toys. I'm assuming it's like the Transformers movie where they gave me nightmare fuel by killing off all the characters just to sell toys to children.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I just watched it. It's on Netflix now. I think it's called I Have the Power, and it's just a Masters of the Universe documentary. And they go in depth on it, and the guys making the movie were like, hey, we can create these new characters, you make new toys, and they're like, yes, that's absolutely brilliant, awesome. Although I really would have liked to have seen Clawful on the screen. What a name, Clawful.
I don't know.
What about Stinkor?
Oh, Stinkor. So many greats, man.
All right. Well, before we dive into the movie, I will just say I had no past history, but seeing the Revelation trailer looked awesome, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. Glad I kind of dove into it at this point.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the best iteration of He-Man ever because, you know, they know how beloved it is and the rabid fan base, and they're going to do it justice and kind of provide context that hasn't actually been dove into before. So it's going to be really cool.
I booked the day off so I could watch it, and they better not screw us over with no Canadian release on this.
Oh, it should. I mean, does that happen to you guys?
Oh, yeah. Your selection is much, much better than ours.
I disagree because you guys had like Batman the Animated Series on Netflix for a decade, it seemed like, before we got, you know, the DC Universe app, and then we got the HBO Max that hasn't now. But before that, you know, Netflix never had Batman the Animated Series.
That was a great show. Anyway, I guess we've dilly-dallied enough. Revelations will probably take the mantle as the best He-Man property ever, but it's, I'm assuming, going to dethrone this movie that we're about to talk about. Ben, why don't you dive us into the plot?
I will. I just have one more thing to say. Something that I mentioned on the last episode, and I want Joe to verify this for me. I'm holding the VHS release in my hand. And on the front, there's a quote that just says, "The Star Wars of the 80s."
Oh, really? It says that on the VHS?
Yep. Now, there are 2 Star Wars movies released in the 80s.
That's exactly what I thought after you said it.
Yep. But on the back, it does say only the universe could hold adventure this big, so maybe they're just going in guns a-blazing.
I guess so. They had to put it over huge. It did seem like it was going to be a big deal. This was He-Man the movie. It just came a little too late was the problem.
Yeah. Well, we start off with the glorious Canon Group logo, and normally this means things are going to be okay. Unfortunately, this isn't one of those times. A voiceover gives us a rundown of the history of Grayskull on planet Eternia. Those who control the castle control the power to be the almighty, the masters of the universe. Now, it's funny that you brought up Superman, Joe, because both Sandra and I agree that the intro music and the opening credits seem way too much like they come from a Superman film.
It's actually, but isn't it Bill Conti who did the movie, the music?
I think it is.
I saw it, and Bill Conti actually does Rocky and Karate Kid, so I immediately popped huge for that because I was like, yes, it's my guy.
Oh, you are a fan of this. This is going to be a blast.
Oh, I'm an 80s man, dude.
Same. I'm with you.
Grew up on all this stuff, so.
We have Skeletor, played by Frank Langella, the third time we've covered him on this show. Enters the throne room, of Castle Grayskull. The room is lined with what looks like stormtroopers, but in all black armor. And we later find out that they are robots. He demands a report from second in command, Evil Lynn, played by the one and only Meg Foster. Sandra, do you recognize Meg Foster from anything you've seen?
Yeah, Stepfather 2, man. We reviewed it like a month ago.
Yes. I was going to say They Live, but very good.
I haven't seen They Live, which is kind of sad to say.
Oh,
yeah, welcome to my world,
goodness.
Man. Every time I ask him if he's seen a movie, he's like, no.
This is like my fiance, man. I've had to educate her from the ground up as soon as I met her. I was like, all right.
Can you guys educate me for a second?
Any Marvel movies, nothing. I was like, all right, we got to fix this.
I've seen the Marvel movies, but can you guys educate me on one thing here? Because this is coming from a complete He-Man noob.
Yeah.
What is Castle Grayskull?
Joe, you want to take this one?
It's where the sorceress and the power lies. I mean, like you said, it's the voiceover at the beginning. Whoever controls the castle is the master of the universe, pretty much. Correct?
But the castle already looks like it's a villain's lair. I mean,
it's pretty wild until. And you know what? I never noticed that they mentioned Skeletor's lair twice in this movie until this viewing. They actually said he's from Snake Mountain, which is sweet. So you got
the entire villain's persona is based on a skeleton, and you got a castle with a giant skull on it. As an outsider, I'm looking at it. I'm like, that is a sweet villain's lair. Oh wait, no, it's not a villain's lair. It's the
stronghold of hope.
This is He-Man's Fortress of
completely agree.
Solitude?
It doesn't make sense. But even in the movie, the painting they have of Castle Grayskull, like, it looks way more terrifying than the cartoon version does.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I'm going to sidetrack here for 1 second. Joe, what's your stance on Conan?
Oh, I love Conan.
Did you watch the 2011 Jason Momoa Conan film?
No.
It is a He-Man movie.
Really?
It is 100% a Motu movie, right down to the fact that a final battle takes place in a structure on the side of a cliff that's shaped like a skull.
Oh, badass. And you know what? I passed on it because I saw it come out. I was like, this is disrespectful to Arnold. I felt like I was betraying my guy. I was like, he can't be Conan. That is Arnold. Only Arnold can do it. But, you know, in recent years, I've grown to respect this Jason Momoa cat, and now I might have to go back and watch it because that sounds awesome.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. It's not amazing by any means, but definitely watch it because it looks like the He-Man movie that we never got.
Yeah, and that's sad.
Well, Evelyn informs him that their army is close to taking Grayskull, which I find weird because they're already in the throne room. Skeletor wants He-Man, Eternia's hero, kneeling at his feet. He has taken the sorceress, guardian of Grayskull, prisoner and is slowly draining her power. Interesting character introductions here for everybody. Like, I found that they didn't give enough grandeur to Skeletor.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and it felt like they used the sorceress as a throwaway character. She was more just like, this person exists, let's not worry about her right now.
She was a plot device. She wasn't,
exactly.
She wasn't a character. She was a plot device.
She wasn't this, and I hate to sound like that guy, but she wasn't the sexy, majestic bird lady that I was used to seeing on the cartoon or as an action figure. So
yeah, that was my complaint too. I'm like, where's the bird lady?
She's got to have the colorful, like, parrot type bird thing. You know, she's orange and blue. She's colorful and majestic and serene. That's the way it's supposed to be. And we just didn't get that. We just got a lady in a white gown.
Yeah. And there's another problem I have here too. Somebody not getting, or something not getting the respect it deserves, and that's Eternia itself. It doesn't look populated whatsoever. There's a couple buildings here and there, and almost no people. If you look at the cartoon, there's little villages all over the place, like fun, interesting characters, monsters, everything, and we don't really see that here. It almost looks like Tatooine's starting to grow some foliage.
Yeah, it was really just a victim of the budget, unfortunately. I mean, that's why they changed the plot to the dumb thing they did where they go to Earth, which, when you think about it, like, that seems like something that would happen in a franchise of movies from the 80s in, like, movie 4, 5, or 6 after they've really run out of ideas, like Jason going to space, things like that. There's something so harebrained and out there. But this is right out the gate. They're like, we're going to Earth. Like, no. What are you doing?
Even on Earth, we barely get any extras. It's a very empty movie beyond the main cast.
Yeah, and even, like, He-Man himself doesn't get his due. Like, he shows up, yeah, but it's like, why are we supposed to care about He-Man? What actually makes him special other than he looks sweet, his hair is beautiful? What makes him such a big deal, and why doesn't Skeletor just kill him? What doesn't make sense?
Nailed it. I'm super curious too about the fact that since we don't get a Prince Adam in this movie, that means this character's actual name is He-Man. Somebody named him He-Man.
And I mean, we don't even see him as Prince Adam at the end of the movie. He's just got this really fly, sparkly, very clean gold outfit, you know, when he saved the day. So we don't even see Prince Adam then. So what the heck?
Yeah, he reminds me of the mustachioed gentleman from She-Ra.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
His name escapes me at the moment, but that guy sucked.
It's got heart in it somewhere. I know that.
Yeah.
He-Man kicks ass against whatever these masked soldiers are called. We get some more Superman music. He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Tila, who is our favorite flight attendant from Commando, Chelsea Field, speaking of Schwarzenegger, rescue Gwildor, a tiny troll-like character played by the one and only Billy Barty, who I ranted about in our episode on Legend. Gentlemen, your stance on Gwildor.
I guess I'll go first. As a kid, I loved it because you just accept whatever is on the screen because you're seeing it as a movie. Like, I was so pumped to see, a He-Man movie. It didn't dawn on me that Gwildor should have been Orko. Instead, we got Gwildor, and I thought he was funny. He was hilarious, and I got a kick out of him. I was very entertained by Gwildor.
I was pretty neutral about him. As somebody who doesn't have expectations from the show, I wasn't expecting to see Orko. I didn't know that Gwildor was made for it. Yeah, it's kind of that short sidekick character with the annoying voice that seems to plague the 80s everything. But it was kind of neither here nor there for me.
Yeah, it's just... I didn't know anything about this movie when I first saw it. I just knew that I loved He-Man. I had all the action figures. I watched all of the cartoons. I constantly read the little tiny mini comics that would come with every action figure too. So I was pretty bummed at not seeing Orko. And then like, what is this? Is this what we get? And then no lie here. Right after I saw this movie, my dad came home and he's like, I got you a new He-Man toy and it's Gwildor. And I was like, God.
Yeah, that's what killed the toy line right there. Because I mean, you had 3 toys that came out, and funny, this movie came out August 7th, 1987. That's one day after my birthday. So it's I wasn't born 87. I might be a little bit older. We won't go into that. But it came out the day after my birthday, and I vividly remember so it might have been my birthday party that year that I got the Sarad action figure, because there were 3 figures. There was Gwildor, Sarad, and Blade. And I got Sarad, and because I'm a freaking weird kid, I kept doing the spark thing because I thought it was the coolest toy feature that I'd ever seen. But it smelled really good, so I'd put it in my face and just do that.
You guys say it killed the toy line, but we're 2 for 2. You both got action figures from the movie. It worked to some degree.
And my brother got Blade, so I mean we had them all, but yeah, the Gwildor figure just kind of sucked, and it seemed like anytime I went to Toys R Us, like the place was just plagued with them everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's just a wall of Gwildor, and I think it's because they got those toys out super fast, so the parents would buy it, and the kids are like, "Please don't ever buy me another one."
If I'm not mistaken, I think those are the last new figures that were made for that particular line.
That would have been the 83 to 85 series, I think.
Or technically 87.
Technically, no, 87.
This is where it ends. Yeah,
that's right. I was thinking about the original run of the show.
Yep.
Gwildor takes him to his home and reveals that Skeletor wants him because he created the Cosmic Key, a contraption covered in buttons that allows the user to travel to other worlds based off of the order of buttons they press. Interesting plot element.
Interesting design for the key. It looks like you could stab somebody with it.
I don't mind it. I like that design a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's cool, and it was a cool character they made up for the movie, and he definitely fit into the plot. It didn't seem like he was created for the movie, but he fit very naturally, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah, and you are right too about the Orko comment. Like, a lot of the humor that Gwildor doles out, you could definitely see Orko saying.
Yeah.
Skeletor has the key that Gwildor originally built, but he has since constructed a second. Gwildor says that if they use the key to go to Grayskull, it would allow Skeletor to trace them. Just then, Skeletor's troops attack. The Eternians escape as soldiers led by henchman Karg break down the door. Another new character, I believe, for the movie.
And that being said, I mean, the costume for him is fantastic.
It is fantastic.
I love practical effects and things like that, and he looks slimy and gross. It's like, you don't really see that anymore, despite, how great CGI is and stuff. I thought it looked great.
There is a question I have here, too. When they explain the key, He-Man says that must be how they got into the city without us seeing them. Now, does that mean that Grayskull is surrounded by a city, or that Skeletor is invading every city or establishment on Eternia?
Maybe. It sounds like it it seems like they just burst into Grayskull, right? Because I mean, there should be heavy resistance guarding the castle. If they teleport in, that's another story.
Yeah, but I don't remember it being large enough to house a city. But that could just be me thinking the cartoon and not the movie.
Yeah, because all we saw was Castle Grayskull and desert, really.
Yeah. Just a thought.
Maybe they just got in because all of the defense, He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Tila, are here and not there defending it.
Yeah, like what were they doing running around? Where were they the whole time?
That's a great question.
Like He-Man was just kind of out there doing his thing in the deserts of Eternia, fighting some stormtrooper guys, but why wasn't he in the palace to begin with? Was there some sort of diversion? We don't know because the movie, I think the actual movie is like straight up almost 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more.
We find out he was actually hiding in the desert and he was just killing the people that found him.
I got it. Cringer ran away in fear and they went looking for him and they never found him because he's not in the movie.
And see, that's something that definitely should have been in the movie. But again, 1987 budget, and tigers are really hard to work with, I guess.
I would not want to see an animatronic Battle Cat or Cringer. I just wouldn't.
I wouldn't either, but now they can do it though. So if they ever finally get this new movie out of developmental hell, we'll definitely see Cringer, and that'll be sweet.
I'm so excited. It looks like they're moving slowly but surely, but I mean,
they've been in that holding pattern for almost 20 years, it seems like.
It's very possible that if the new TV show takes off really well, that it will kind of motivate them to get something going.
Hopefully, but I mean, the last time they did a cartoon relaunch, like it was done really, really well in like the early, I think it was like 2002 or something like that. It was done really well. The toys were really cool that came out. However, apparently, like, it just didn't attract new fans. It was on Cartoon Network, and it seemed like the only people who were watching it were the people who were like, in their mid 20s and 30s who grew up with the stuff. So it just wasn't attracting a new audience.
That's why I'm wondering if that's their plan for this current lineup of Masters of the Universe and WWE action figures.
Oh, yeah, I'm staring at mine right now.
They gotcha. But I think that's a great way of them bringing new fans in from another direction, too. It's smart marketing.
A little bit, but again, here's the thing, dude. When I go to a store, the only ones I see on shelves, if I do see them, are current roster guys. Like, the classics sell out like nobody's business, like hotcakes. But, I'll see the regular guys hanging out for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm seeing them pop up at EB Games now here, too. Like Evil Lyn and Battle Cat, and for some reason, a plethora of Ram Man.
Because you guys are kind of lucky. Like, you don't have Target in Canada, but you still have Toys R Us. So you have a way better trade-off. And Toys R Us over there works as like a catch-all, so you get almost all of the exclusives. So Ram Man and Clamp Champ are Target exclusives, so they'll show up in Toys R Us, and now it apparently seems like they show up at EB Games as well.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that was like the release pattern or schedule. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, in EB Games, like, it's kind of like the analog for Walgreens over here. So I collect the Marvel Legends figures, and they have exclusive rights to some Marvel guys that'll come in every once in a while. So currently, we're waiting for this Nova and this character called Quasar to show up. They're Walgreens exclusives, but you guys have them over there in Canada already at EB Games, which makes me really jealous.
I'm just so happy everything's coming back with He-Man.
Oh yeah, me too, man. It's so cool. I didn't expect, because I buy so many other action figure lines and stuff. I was like, all right, I can't do this. I'm only gonna buy, my Marvel Legends, and then I'll buy some of these WWE He-Man guys, but only the ones that I really like. The Legends, that'll be that. And then it slowly was like, you know what? I'll get enough where I have a team of baby faces and a team of heels. So it's enough to make a Survivor Series match and pose it over there. all right, we're good with that. But then it started to bleed into getting the Masters of the Universe Origins figures. And now I've got Castle Grayskull and I've got all this other stuff. I'm like, how did this happen?
You're making your way from Survivor Series teams to a whole Royal Rumble.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
You're going to have all of your walls just covered in shelving units displaying everything.
Yeah, it's bound to happen.
Where were we in the movie?
Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry.
What point of the runtime are we in? 10 minutes?
Oh, we're not that far in. Sorry. Our four heroes enter the throne room of Grayskull. There they encounter the sorceress who has been trapped by Skeletor in an energy field, as I had said before. Gwildor tries to release her using the key. Before he can do so, Skeletor and his army flood the hall and attack. For survival's sake, the Eternians use the second key, entering a random series of button presses and escape through the portal it creates. Now, I have listed here, luckily for our heroes, they end up on Earth. But what if they ended up on Mars where there was no oxygen?
Well, I mean, the movie would be very, very short.
It just, honestly, as soon as I saw that, it just made me think of Total Recall.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been cool if they did a scene like that where they're on some planet they can't survive in, and then they quickly hit a few buttons, then they're on Earth. Okay.
Yeah, but it is a canon film, so I get it.
Luckily, He-Man used his trusty, familiar weapon of a gun to give them suppressive fire cover to get out of there. He did use his sword to deflect a shot, I guess.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, the gun usage in this movie. Everybody has a gun, and it's annoying.
I mean, Ben and I talked about this.
Even Beastman has a gun. Come on. Why does he need a gun?
Man-at-Arms has a sword on his back.
Well, I mean, he's Man-at-Arms. He's got everything.
But he never uses it. He's just got it on his back for the entire duration of the movie. This is a complete opposite.
Tolkin is an interesting character. Just likes to carry it around. One thing I don't know if you guys noticed, but I picked up on, I thought was kind of weird. They all kind of enter the portal relatively the same manner, but when you see them come out of it on Earth, they go flying, and like Gwildor goes face first towards the ground, and He-Man's the last out, and he just kind of like falls out of it directly in front of it. So everyone else is thrown about 30 or 40 feet, and He-Man's thrown maybe like 1.
Yes, he's dense. He's got all that beast.
He's the most powerful man in the universe. What are they going to do?
It's a good point. Good point. Gwildor has no idea what planet they ended up on, but they can easily make it home by pressing the same series of buttons on the key, only the key is now missing. It doesn't really seem like a He-Man movie at this point, but like you look at some of the older episodes where they've got some like I don't know, opening scenes, you're like, this is going to be terrible. It ends up being some of the best, like the Granomir episode.
How did they lose the
lost
key?
On both of you.
How did they lose the key? They're going through the portal, and Gwildor has to use his like grappling hook thing to snatch it out of the through the portal. Did he let go of it? I don't understand.
It somehow teleported somewhere else. I don't know.
They have a strange encounter with a cow and make the classic decision to split up and explore their surroundings. Gwildor's upset with his inability to establish bovine communication. I will admit, this still makes me chuckle a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he starts to kind of subtly moo back at it, like he's picking up the language.
Yeah. So Julie Winston, played by Courtney Cox, is working her last shift at Robbie's Ribs and Chicken before she moves to Jersey. I love the setup of this restaurant. If it existed today, I would be there. It looks right out of Dazed and Confused, and they also have 45-cent coffee.
This is where the movie starts to bother me a little bit.
Starts? Okay.
Well, yeah, because again, remember, I'm coming out of this as a new guy. I have no expectations, but it's like the thing I complain about all the time with Aliens versus Predator. You're now introducing generic random humans that are going to be focal points to the plot. I didn't tune in to the Masters of the Julie. I wanted to watch Masters of the Universe. And you can just tell that Courtney Cox's character is going to be a big part of it.
Well, we've already had the conversation that this is actually Masters of the Kevin.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah, keep going.
I think we're all have unanimously decided that, this is where the movie starts to kind of take a nosedive, because it shouldn't be about these human characters, but here they are being annoying, and we learn their annoying backstories, and it's just, I don't want to see it. I want to see Skeletor again. Stop it.
Yes. No, before we move on, I want to point out something here that I really enjoy. The fact that, Joe, you've seen this movie numerous times and you love it. I've seen it numerous times and I want to love it. And Sandro has only seen it once and has never heard anything really about it. So this is a really interesting POV episode.
I've watched it twice. Thank you.
Oh, twice. Okay.
I watch every movie we review twice. Why is this news to you? Anyway, go on. Go on.
But I do like that he hates it, starts to dislike it at the point where everybody else kind of feels the same. It's like, oh no.
I mean, I just had that same feeling when I was watching Aliens versus Predator, and they just started incorporating all the human characters, and it became Aliens versus Predator and humans. And it's not necessarily that it's flat out bad, because it can still be done well, but it's just not what we signed up for.
No, and I remember seeing that in theaters as well when it came out, and I was like, man, and I remember sitting there thinking, man, this is a piece of crap. Like, because there was a scene where, like, the girl is running in slow motion with the Predator, and there's an explosion behind them, and I was like, it was that moment, I was like, this sucks. This is not what I expected.
Nothing like taking two rated R franchises and making a PG-13 mashup.
Ugh.
Anyway, we were talking about Julie and chicken?
Ribs. Yeah. Anyway, we find out that she's leaving her boyfriend, Kevin. Her parents have passed away, and she just wants to move on and start anew. Kevin picks her up and is rewarded with a bucket of ribs, and he tries to convince her to stay, but she refuses. Yeah, you're both right. These are pretty much throwaway characters here.
Yeah.
Tila.
I mean, they just try so hard right off the bat. They're like, her parents died. So
yeah, right. The one person that's trying to be there for her, she's like just planning on leaving anyway.
Screw you,
I mean,
Kevin.
where's she gonna go? How does she have any money? She works at a chicken rib shack.
Yeah.
And
she's in high school.
She's a high school student.
Yeah, she doesn't have a real job, and what's she gonna do? Who's she moving in with? Maybe an aunt? I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, and where is this set? Do we know?
I don't think they ever actually say that.
No idea.
We just know she's going to Jersey.
Yeah, we know she's going to Jersey, and everyone's just kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. So it seems like it can't be that far, but it looks pretty nice. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop. Tila approaches Ravi's and is spooked by a rustling in the bushes. It's her father, Duncan, man-at-arms. They both need food. They spot Gwildor, who's in the process of stealing a bucket of ribs from the car of a couple of teenagers making out. So for splitting up, they all reconvene real quick.
Yeah, they all.
And he was going to share. See,
they all went in the same direction.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm sorry, guys. I know it's played for comedic effect, but that shot of Gwildor with gravy all over his face makes me sick every time I see it.
It cracks me up. I liked it.
Just real quick.
For some reason, it's one of the things that are like burned. It's burned in my mind when I think of this movie, Gwildor eating chicken. And for some reason, I always thought it was KFC, but I just realized after this viewing that no, it was a made-up franchise.
No, they would have had to pay money for KFC.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A couple of things real quick here. One, that couple is just going at it. They don't even care that they're in a car with no roof in broad daylight. And two, according to the Wikipedia, in the plot summary, the key is discovered by two California teenagers.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so California to New Jersey.
Oh, wow. That's a hike.
Seems like the smartest move.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, didn't mean to detract that. I guess now we get to them eating the ribs and Tila not knowing what ribs are?
Yeah, they sit down and happily share the ribs. Tila's confused about why they put the food on little white sticks. Duncan points out that they're rib bones. Tila freaks out about eating an animal. So this also confuses me, because Duncan knows exactly what it is. Tila has no idea that meat is on bones.
And you think He-Man built that body just eating salads?
Yeah, so like...
Come on.
How... What do they eat on Eternity?
It's perplexing because What, in Eternia, they either don't have meat, so Tila has no idea, but then also, how would Man-at-Arms know what it is if they don't have it? Or, the flip side, they do, and Tila has just somehow grown up sheltered from the knowledge of it. Either way, it doesn't work.
Maybe they just harvest meat blobs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fine. Julie and Kevin are at the cemetery visiting the graves of Julie's parents.
Oh, good.
They
Back to
died-
Julie and Kevin. I was worried we were going to get into good characters.
Why wouldn't we talk about the stars of the movie?
Ugh.
They died in a plane crash, a flight they weren't supposed to take because they were all originally going to the beach, but Julie said she had to study because she wanted to spend the day with Kevin instead. Her parents then decided to take the plane to what sounds to me like Catalina, but I can't really make it out. And now I'm starting to wonder about the parents. Like, if they can just take the plane, their plane, to Catalina, why is Julie working at a rib shack?
They're trying to teach her hard work. Like, hey, you know how hard it is to make $1? You go work at this rib shack.
That would be the most realistic thing to do, yes. But we're watching Masters of the Universe.
That's true. But, as we learn, we don't want to be jumping around too much. We'll let you go. I guess I'll bury them when we get to the point.
Oh, all right. Kevin tries to console her. She wishes she could change things, but Kevin tells her that only happens in fairy tales. As they leave the cemetery, they stumble upon Gwildor's cosmic key. They pick it up and accidentally activate it. It emits a tune every time the buttons are pressed, and Kevin tries to convince Julie that it's a new Japanese synthesizer. He messes around with it, alerting Skeletor of the key's location.
Let's keep in mind that he says it's some of those Japanese sympathizers. I give up.
That's a different movie altogether.
Just try to remember that he says it's a Japanese synthesizer.
Yeah. Skeletor plans a mercenary team to attack the next time the key is activated. Julie and Kevin are at the high school, because these are high school kids, are heroes. Kevin is preparing for his band's performance at the high school dance, and he's setting up the key as one of his instruments. In doing so, he alerts Skeletor of the key's whereabouts, and the coordinates are set for invasion. Evil Lynn. Okay, yeah, I was just about to say Evil Lynn. Speaking of Evil Lynn, I think that's probably one of the best choices in costume change they could have made from the cartoon to the movie. And Joe, I think you're with me on that one, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I think, I don't know. I liked her costume in the movie quite a bit. I thought she looked really cool, very goth.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what made me like these dark women from a very young age. I don't know. She had a dark side to her I really liked.
Her name is Evil Lynn.
I know, but she didn't. In the cartoon, she didn't look too evil. I mean, I guess I'm thinking more of the toy. Her toy, she had straight up yellow skin. She wasn't that evil.
Yeah, that's when we find out that Evelyn truly went goth and is now just Evil Lynn.
Oh yeah, she is straight up sinister.
Yeah. Well, she's selected Skeletor's best warriors for the new toys. One of which is from the cartoon, only one. Even Skeletor calls it a curious quartet and instructs them to bring He-Man back alive. I thought that was them actually taking a dig at the fact that there was only one original character in that group.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know who else they really could have picked and kept it under budget.
Yeah, it would probably be pretty pricey to do Trapjaw and Mermaid. I don't know, Sarat. It looked like they put some money into Sarat and Card.
Yeah,
they really did. And Beastman. Beastman looked awesome.
He looked amazing, and that's why I was surprised they didn't bring Mossman in too, because they're like, just paint it green, get the same costume and paint it green.
I mean, they made
some branches on it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, stick some branches on it.
Yeah, really. Moss.
Well, it looks like Sarat is an amphibian, like a lizard. That's not, money-wise, you could have gone in the same direction with Merman. And
yeah,
Blade is just a dude with an eye patch. You could have just made a dude with, a funky hat and made Triclops. It's not like they're huge stretches outside of it, but I guess they did make new toys, so...
Yeah, you're definitely right, though. It would have been nice to just see all the guys we recognize.
Yep. But I get it. It's a business.
I would have liked to have seen Too Bad, too.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I was hoping that we would see Manny faces.
Oh yeah, man, that would have been sweet.
I know. That was one of the first episodes I remember seeing. I was having a He-Man birthday party in the basement of a McDonald's. They had He-Man cake. They brought in the TV VCR on that little trolley thing, and my friends and I just watched He-Man for like an hour and a half until they were like, "Get the hell out!"
Sweet.
Yeah, I remember all these characters.
Kevin leaves Julie in the gym so he can take the key to Charlie's to have it examined. Once he leaves, the portal opens in the gym and the minuscule invasion begins. The henchmen all seem dastardly except for Beastman, who just looks confused for some reason. They attack the high school coach and Julie screams to them to leave him alone. They open fire on her and then decide to use her to find the key. Beastman gets stuck in streamers and they all take too long trying to catch her. She throws ammonia in Beastman's face and Blade almost takes her out with 3 arrows. Great job at trying to take her alive, but also it's weird that a character named Blade uses arrows.
Man, this is one of the biggest tropes that grinds my gears. You have this awesome set of cool-looking bad guys, and they're just bumbling idiots.
Yeah.
How in the hell is Beastman that much of a non-factor? He looks like he could tear the building down. Looks like he could give people nightmares, but no, he gets ammonia in his face, and then he somehow gets busted open a little bit later. What? How? What?
But before that, he got hung up in like hanging strips of paper.
I guess
So stupid.
They were not expecting the sheer force and resistance of Julie.
I guess.
It's even worse than like in growing up too. Like, I mean, we're jumping a little forward, but I felt the same way about Ninja Turtles. I'm like, all of their bad guys look like they would just murder the turtles, but they somehow always come off like idiots.
Yeah.
Bebop, Rocksteady, Ground Chuck, they all look like badasses, but they all just get their asses kicked easily by the turtles every time.
And it's funny you bring up the turtles here too, because this happened to us before with TMNT 2. Secret of the Ooze.
I
we were all
refuse.
expecting.
Secret of the Ooze. Yeah.
But
We were all expecting Bebop and Rocksteady, and we got Toka and Razar.
Sorry, go ahead.
Here's the problem with this. They look like they can beat the Turtles, but the Turtles beat them. Not April O'Neil. This isn't He-Man.
Yeah.
It's Julie.
Yeah.
Julie.
And this is a 17-year-old girl.
And why is there a bucket of ammonia in the gym next to the electronics?
I don't know.
All right. Well, let's see. He-Man hears Julie's screams and runs into the storage yard where she's now hiding. He finds her and she tells him that the monsters are chasing her, so he picks her up and walks away.
And she just lets this naked blonde man grab her.
Well, I mean, I look at him.
Well, yeah, but I mean, A, she doesn't know what to do with that yet, and B, there's all these monsters. What's going on?
If Dolph Lundgren showed up and tried to carry me away, I'm just going to let it happen. I don't think I'm going to stop him. So, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, like if she's screaming there are monsters after her and he's like, I got this, and picks her up and then just slowly walks away and then hears the monsters and henchmen coming and just gives her a gun like, here, you protect yourself.
I mean, I guess she thinks, you know what? I kind of held my own against these monsters. There were 4 of them, but they just looked like chumps. I think He-Man will. I think this beautiful blonde man will just kick their asses. Okay, I can let that go.
Well, he takes out the faceless troops and fights Beastman, then Blade, and Zod. Tila and Duncan show up, and the henchmen run off, even though they outnumber the heroes, which Skeletor points out to them later on. Kevin is at Charlie's music shop and has him examine the key. The first thing I noticed, and it has nothing to do with what we see on screen, but they must have spent a lot of movie to get Purple Haze played in this. Like, knowing the cost of music rights in film, hearing an act like the original recording of Purple Haze, that must have been crazy expensive. So I don't know what Golan and Globus were thinking here.
That was their Eternia budget. They're like, well, got to move the movie to Earth before using this one.
Nailed it.
They're like, it's Eternia or Purple Haze. We're going with Purple Haze.
Charlie says he's seen something like the key before. It's Japanese. Kevin says, no, it isn't, even though that's exactly what he told Julie.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Keep that in mind. He says it might be one of those Japanese synthesizers, and then when he's talking to Charlie, no, it's not.
Police and emergency vehicles speed by. Charlie picks up his police scanner, and they hear of an emergency at the high school. Kevin panics, worried about Julie, and runs off. He-Man finds out that Kevin has the key, and he and Julie set out to find him. The high school is a disaster. Kevin tries to question the coach, but has no luck. Detective Lubick, James Tolkin from Back to the Future and Top Gun, two of my favorites, assures Kevin that Julie isn't there. Lubick shoves Kevin into his car and drives off in search of Courtney Cox.
Yeah, I like Detective Lubick.
I like Lubick a lot too,
but
he's very entertaining.
He blinks a lot. I couldn't stop looking at it. He just kept blinking.
Now that you mention it, yeah. I mean, it was the 80s. He might have been partying really hard on the set. He's like, I'm doing He-Man, what?
Yeah, definitely.
This is the only way I'm getting through this production.
They gave me this little white bag of powder called the Power. And I definitely have the power now.
I mean, in all honesty, he definitely had the most energy of anybody on screen. Like, he was very kinetic.
His sweat had more energy than everybody else on screen.
Yeah.
Duncan
and he got to swear twice. He said shit twice.
Oh yeah, was this movie PG?
It had to have been.
It was PG. It was before PG-13.
That's crazy.
I don't think what movie made PG-13 a thing. I forget.
I don't know.
But before then, it went from PG to R.
That's quite
so that makes sense. Yeah.
Red Dawn was the first PG-13 movie, and that's in 1984.
Yeah, that's an amazing film. I love it so much. Duncan tells He-Man that Skeletor's minions got away. He-Man says Julie is able to help them find the key and asks if they had any luck. Tila makes a sex joke, saying, not as much as you, apparently. And now I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, if they were trying to allude to some sort of, like, relationship between the two of them, or even, like, one-sided infatuation, they really didn't follow through with it. It was just the one comment, and then they drop it from there on out.
Yeah, but it's also Tila being like, "Aw, He-Man, are you having sex with underage girls again?"
I didn't even think about it. Courtney Cox is a teenager.
Yeah.
They don't have the same laws on Eternia. Let's just keep going.
There's a scene where he's talking to her. They're both crouching and hiding, and she just looks like the smallest person in the world next to him. It's ridiculous. And I was just cracking up because she looked like a literal child.
He-Man says they have to find the key before the enemies return in full force. Gwildor arrives in a stolen car that he calls a primitive land boat, and that also made me laugh. On Eternia, Skeletor confronts Evil Lyn about why people aren't following him, and says that they await the return of He-Man. I don't know why I wrote that. That doesn't make sense. My bad, guys. Skeletor can't kill him because he would then create a martyr. Oh yeah, he says he can't kill He-Man because he would create a martyr or a saint out of him. He instead wants He-Man broken. And yeah, that was it. They didn't follow He-Man or anybody in the car because they want to wait for him to be back on Eternia. And that seems a little just convoluted.
How did Gwildor reprogram this car?
And the whole thing is silly anyway. Like, it doesn't make sense. What do you mean He-Man would be a murderer? Everybody already knows he's the hero of the damn planet. So they're going to hate you if you kill him anyway. He's the only he's the only chance these people have.
Solid stretch of plot development right there.
All of these people that we never see.
Yeah. Henchmen arrive and Skeletor is disappointed in their failure. He kills Sarad in front of them as a warning to the force and forces Evil Lyn to take his place.
Who wants to buy that action figure? He was in the movie just long enough to get killed by Skeletor.
And I was really upset too when I saw that. I was like, he's my favorite toy, and he just gets killed. And he had like a total of 5 minutes on the screen. He didn't even say a word. He just hissed a little bit. He did a cool thing where he showed some claws. And he didn't even do a spark mouth. He just, what the hell? He got thrown on blade, and that was it.
Yeah, of all the new characters in this movie, you'd think he would have had like the longest longevity for. Like,
he was the
children
coolest
fan.
looking one, hands down. And they just killed him. They decided, no, we want Karg instead. Let's kill this guy.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
But you know what I love about it, though? Like, I bought, because I love this movie so much, I had to get all of the Masters of the Universe Classics movie figures, which are really pricey right now. Well, I take it back. The only one I don't have is Gwildor, but I have the actual cool characters. And like they gave them all kinds of really cool backstory and how they fit into the actual lore of Masters of the Universe. And like apparently Sarad is from a race of reptiles that feuds with Cobra Khan, who's another like Snake Man type guy.
Yeah.
In Eternia. And like there's all this cool stuff about these characters. It's like I want to see this kind of stuff fleshed out in Revelations. And it at least gave me a little bit to hold on to and more backstory for this character than the frickin' movie he's introduced in, and I was forever traumatized by.
Yeah, like there was so much world building in the cartoon and in the mini comics that it's almost shocking to any He-Man fan when they watch this movie, because instead of building off of that rich storytelling lore that they have, they just introduce so many brand new elements. But I mean, like, Joe, this movie worked for you, man, which is awesome. Like, I want it to work for me so bad. Sandro, we're not done yet, but at this point, how are you feeling about the movie?
I'm okay with it. I mean, the beauty for someone like me is that having no knowledge of it, completely devoid of expectation. So it's not like I'm truly disappointed that I'm not seeing these characters because I don't have a relationship with them. And so far, it's okay.
Cool. That's awesome.
And you know, again, it goes back to when you're a kid, you just accept stuff. You're not critical of things, really. You just enjoy shit for what it is. And seeing it on the screen, I was just happy to see He-Man the movie. And you know, okay, this will give me my age. It's still a vivid memory of mine, but it's like shortly after my 3rd birthday. So I remember seeing this in theaters and just being really into it. And then going back onto our Ninja Turtle discussion a little bit earlier, you just accepted what they gave you. So it didn't even occur to me that we needed Bebop and Rocksteady and Turtles 2 until someone pointed it out to me when I was like 26 years old. I'm like, wait, why wasn't it Bebop and Rocksteady? Like, it took me that long for someone to bring it up. It was like, it should have been Bebop and Rocksteady. I'm like, you know what? You're right. But again, I was just happy to see another Ninja Turtles movie, and I thought Toka and Razor were just really cool looking. I was like, he's a wolf and a snapping turtle. They're so sweet, and they're babies. And then, of course, we had Super Shredder, which defied all logic. Somehow the mutagen made his blades bigger and everything, but whatever. I love it.
Me too. One of my favorites.
Back to He-Man.
It just goes to show too that like we really didn't have anything live action to compare it to. So yeah, this was live action He-Man for us.
No, you just accepted what you got, man. Back in the day, they're like, we're making a movie, and this is what we're doing with it. Now we have the luxury of saying, no, what you've done is just awful, and you know you can't do things like that, and we can crap all over it. And then you know they hopefully don't make those mistakes anymore. But yeah, we're spoiled with the Marvel universe now. Is what it comes down.
We definitely are.
Knights and Nerds is not just an actual play D&D podcast with an original campaign being played by a group of friends who tolerate each other. It's also a podcast where I, the Dungeon Master, talk about how I'm adapting to the choices the players make, as well as revealing to you, the audience, the complex story and deadly twists that I have in store for my players. Find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or at knightsandnerds.com.
Kevin and Lubick arrive at Julie's house. The phone rings and Kevin answers. It's Julie, of course. He pretends that it isn't her in an attempt to thwart Lubick. Julie picks up on this and tells him to stay there with the key. Lubick messes around with the key, though, and tells Kevin he doesn't think it's a synthesizer, and it alerts the henchmen to their location. Kevin throws a styrofoam bucket of ribs in the microwave to heat them up, and it jams the signal of the henchman's tracker. That is until they blow it up remotely. I only ever picked up on that in my last viewing. I vividly remember that thing blowing up and not really knowing why.
Yeah,
and you know, I'll say this, like, sorry to interrupt, guys, but like this movie, like a lot of times you'll watch something back and they'll have something that should have been like high tech and, you know, really futuristic, and then we've surpassed it in real life. But here, there's a lot of technology things that it's like, all right, we still don't have that kind of stuff here, like where, you know, they have a little video that Evelyn uses and she can see what transpired and what, you know, that Karg was lying and that it was all bull crap and stuff like that. We don't have anything like that. It's like it still holds up. And then they have this remote interference disruptor exploder type thing. So I thought that was really cool.
Sandro, anything to add?
I was just literally going to say they didn't know what microwaves were capable of yet, because they probably still thought they'd get radiated from it.
Yeah. Lubick takes the key to report it stolen. The henchmen show up at Julie's house while Kevin is cleaning up. They beat the shit out of him until they're stopped by Evil Lynn. She has a truth caller, I forget the name of it, attached to Kevin, and he tells her everything she wants to know. If that's the case, why are they just destroying Julie's house and rooting through every box that's been packed already?
Yeah. I don't know, but I think it was bullcrap that Kevin survived being punched in the face by Beastman.
Oh yeah, his head would have exploded.
Yeah, like if a bear swipes at a human being, it's usually frickin' it. But no, this guy gets his ass beat by Beastman, and he's able to walk away, and he's not even unconscious. Nonsense.
Yeah.
And why did they tear the place up looking for the key if they were just going to get the information out of him using a collar that looked like it would have stripped away his mutant powers on Genosha? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And it does make sense to me, but I think they could have arrived at their destination for this another way. Because Karg finds a photo of Julie and gives it to Evil Lynn, and she thinks it might be useful, and that's like the photo of Julie and I believe her parents, right? Because she then later on in the movie takes on the appearance of Julie's mother.
I don't even want to talk about that scene until it happens. I don't even want to talk about when it happens. But
all right. The Eternians arrive at Julie's house and find Kevin still collared. They remove it and Kevin freaks out at the sight of them. Julie calms down until Gwildor walks in dressed in women's clothing. I'm not sure how he got them there that fast or how he got changed that fast, but okay. Kevin tells them to head to Charlie's. That's where the key will be. Lubick's at the store asking Charlie if the key could be Russian when our heroes arrive. He pulls a gun on them just before the villains enter. They prepare for battle. Now, this is probably a surprisingly fun battle scene to me. Like, I remember not liking any of this movie, but there are certain points where I'm just, like, totally into it, and this fight was it. What do you guys think about the action scene?
I liked it. I liked a lot of the action scenes, actually.
It was choreographed well, and watching it, it was well done. Going back and thinking about it now, it doesn't feel very He-Man-ish.
No.
But just from a strictly visual standpoint, yeah, I mean, they used tactical cover. I didn't like later on when Tila joined the fight and didn't seemingly know how to hold a gun. But beyond that,
yeah,
it was really well done.
Yeah, that weirded me out too.
Is that the part where she says "woman at arms"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really, really cringy.
I didn't even mind the woman at arms line. I just hated how she was holding a gun. It just, I can't even describe it.
I mean, it was cute. It wasn't as bad as, you know, a female heroine making her big comeback in the movie to "I'm Just a Girl," but it was good.
And it almost like that line, "woman at arms," like after seeing her shoot that gun, almost makes it sound like she was making fun of herself.
Yeah.
And not knowing. Yeah, so, I mean, you could easily take it that way. I'm okay with that.
She had a really cute smile after she said it, though, so, I mean.
She could get away with a lot of everything in that outfit. It was fine.
Yeah. I think we're all on the same page here, Ben.
All right. Well, also in that, like, leading up to that part, Gwildor tries to figure out the proper sequence of buttons on the key to get everyone out of there. He-Man just shoots everybody, and Lubick then convinces Tila to stop protecting them and go join her comrades. Once she's gone, Lubick tries to get the gun from Kevin, but he and Julie stop the detective. Julie looks out the window and sees her mother beckoning to her from the alley. Here we are, Sandra, your favorite part. She sneaks out the door to confront the mother she thought dead. And she says that she and her father had to fake their death because they're doing super secret work. She needs Julie to get the key for her.
For the love of God, Julie, come on, open your eyes.
She works at the Rib Shack. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who works at a Rib Shack is a dumbass, but she's a young girl. She doesn't understand things yet, but still, she shouldn't have been that freaking stupid. Unbelievable.
It wasn't...
And how about her shriek when she does get the key? Hands it to her mom, turns into Evil Lynn. She just says no instead of straight up tackling her or something. She just screams and that's it. And she's helpless. She just fought off Beast Man like 20 minutes ago, and now she's crying.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say. I don't.
Her power is throwing ammonia in faces. Julie runs back into the music store, grabs the key, and gives it to her mother. But it was a trick the whole time. Evil Lynn was pretending to be her mother just to get the key, and nobody was fooled.
Nobody, except for her.
Let her go, Kevin. Jersey awaits.
Yeah, let her go.
Cut your losses.
Jersey's an armpit anyway.
The Eternians are on her tail. Lubick gets Charlie to give him the store's shotgun. He tries to stop the henchmen, but they almost explode him, and he takes off.
How did he survive that? The whole car exploded. He's like, geez, I need backup here. It's like, how'd you live?
These scenes don't make sense to me. You see an army worth of dudes in stormtrooper outfits, whatever, all wielding guns. You're one guy with a shotgun. You think they're going to turn around and be like, yeah, we should put our weapons down. There's one of him. Yeah.
And this, I mean, I guess you can kind of explain away, but I found it weird that Evil Lynn uses her newly acquired key to open a massive portal, allowing Skeletor and his army entrance to the Earth realm of sorts. But I don't know why she would know which keys to press, because he guards that key on his hip with his life. I don't think he lets anybody else even near it. So I just find it strange that she knows how to use the second one, no problem.
Yeah, because Gwildor barely knows.
Gwildor made it. He doesn't know how it works.
And he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but somehow the bad guys have figured it out. And also, the Skeletor even coming there seemed kind of pointless, They had the key, so why does he need to show up on Earth?
Are we to just believe that maybe she's using their key to essentially send off a signal that would, pinpoint the location, right? Because they were saying if we use the key, Skeletor will be able to tell where we are. Maybe she was just triggering off the key so that Skeletor could use his to arrive in what was a really visually sweet looking arrival of him just porting in. Skeletor looked so good in that moment.
Yeah, no, that did look really, really good. And Evil Lynn was smart enough to go outside to use the key, so she knew she wouldn't be around any microwaves. Air Centurions that look absolutely horrid on my DVD copy. I imagine they look better on Blu-ray, Joe.
No, man. I think it's one of the things, man. Technology kind of just shed some light on stuff you could get away with back in the day. Like, what was the name of this technology they used for the stop motion type thing? There was a name for it. I don't know off the top of my head, but you'd see this in Clash of the Titans and other movies.
For Clash of the Titans, it was mainly stop motion.
Okay.
But for this, I don't know. It was definitely almost layered.
It was really weird. It was they had almost this paper cutout of the character, and they'd zoom it around, and it was bizarre, but it got a pass with me.
Honestly, it really made me happy because it reminded me I was still watching a movie from '87.
Yeah,
that's my favorite year of movies ever.
It's heartbreaking though. I mean, this is a little off topic, but again, they just didn't account for how advanced technology would get in the HD of a Blu-ray or something like that. I actually watched, like I said, I had to educate my fiance on some cool movies, and she'd never seen Batman '89. I was like, here we go. It's time. This is my favorite movie ever. Here we go. And her first time watching it, there's a scene where the Batmobile is supposed to be on autopilot. And she's like, there's a hand on the steering wheel. I'm like, what? And I pause it. And sure enough, you can see a hand on the steering wheel of the Batmobile, which is supposed to be on autopilot. And it's like, it crushed me. You're not supposed to. It was you couldn't see it if you saw it in theaters or anything like that, and it's kind of a blink and you'll miss it type of thing. But when it's on the screen, and if you watch it on a Blu-ray or something HD, it's clear as day. There is somebody's hand on the Batmobile steering wheel.
That's rough.
Yeah, man, stuff just doesn't age that well sometimes.
But you know what? Fans like us of these things would definitely come up with a reason that we are happy enough with to believe, and like just talk it away and pretend that it's supposed to be there after all.
I forgive it. It's fine.
Well, these air Centurions track the Eternians, and they have a shootout proving that everybody from Eternia has Stormtrooper accuracy. He-Man takes one of the hover thingies. I'm not sure what it's actually called.
I don't even think they say what it is. He just gets on.
Yeah. Also, and going back to what Joe was saying, at one point he's just horizontal in the air. Like,
it doesn't look like he's holding on to anything either, but he's standing there like he's gripping something with both hands.
And this goes to what Sandra was saying earlier. This entire battle happens on a city street, and there are no civilians anywhere.
No.
There's no moving cars, no people walking or running. And
yeah,
it's just, I only noticed that this viewing too. Like, I guess, you know what? I'm wondering if I actually dislike this movie as much as I think I do. Because sometimes I actually get sucked into it pretty deep.
Well, that's all you need, man.
Julie, Kevin, Sheila, Duncan, and Gwildor are all still hiding on a roof when Skeletor sneaks up on them from behind and they're apprehended.
I love the shot of him just slowly levitating up behind them over the lip of the building.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
He-Man arrives and Skeletor infects Julie's leg with a blast of purple lightning. Nice to see they actually use some purple for Skeletor here. Not enough blue, but some purple's okay. He-Man fucks up everybody once the Superman music hits, but it is eventually stalled by Skeletor when he threatens the lives of the Eternians. He says he will spare their lives if He-Man surrenders his sword and returns to Eternia as Skeletor's slave. He-Man agrees, and Skeletor allows the Eternians to go free, which is not something Skeletor would do, a live-action Skeletor anyway.
Yeah, I would have thought that as soon as they were out of sight or whatever, he would have kind of like whispered or something to Evil Lyn, like, go kill them, right? Like,
I know, like
I
how
lied.
villainous, holding up their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Gwildor tells everyone that parts of the key have melted and there's no way for them to return home. I remember the first time I saw it, I was actually like, oh yeah, how the hell are they going to get home? What's going to happen?
Oh, how convenient you didn't realize that they were just going to make up a jumble of terms and conveniently have all of them between them.
And the musical prowess of Kevin.
You got a musical genius. He's Beethoven.
Every time I hear that now, I only think Beethoven. Julie's condition is worsening. Lubick returns to Charlie's with police backup, and they make fun of him. Julie's leg is messed up. Poison has done its job. Only the sorceress can stop it now.
Let me tell you, that has been burned into my head since I was a child. Like, I thought that was the most disgusting, gnarly-looking wound possible. I'm like, her leg is going to fall off. She's dead. Yeah.
It was very convincing. And honestly, it still looks pretty messed up.
Yeah, man, it is nasty as hell.
She sold it, too. Like, I kind of like Courtney Cox anyway, really. I'm a big Scream fan, guys, so
yeah,
she's okay in my books. The only way to get back to Eternia is to replicate the tones that opened the dimensional door, and luckily Kevin has those tones memorized.
This is another part where I was a little bothered. Because when we met the human characters, who I didn't want to be the focus of, like, the plot, they made it seem like Julie was going to be the hero. They tried to give you an emotional avenue with her parents dying. They had her kind of get past the ambush of the quartet. And then all of a sudden it's Kevin saving the day. And he seemed like the throwaway of the human characters. Why pull this switch?
Come on, man. It's 1987. Girls can't save the day yet.
Also, look at what Kevin's done in this movie so far. Basically, their introduction is, hey, I'm sorry you're upset your parents died because we hung out. And then take the key to Charlie's, and his friend's store is completely destroyed. Everywhere he goes is just mayhem and destruction.
You can see why I wasn't expecting him to be the one to save the day.
Yeah, he sucks. And somehow he was like, did we go over the part where he like somehow fights off Lubig the whole like with the gun and stuff like that? Yeah, we did. We glazed over it. Like he somehow kept the gun away from the cop, which the cop should have beat the crap out of him and arrested him, but no.
He was too sweaty.
I guess so. His heart was racing way too fast. He was the master of the universe.
Tila and her father have two of the components needed to replicate the cosmic key. The final piece being a keyboard, which Kevin goes to get from Charlie's music store, because we know everything in there still works.
It looks like it does.
Yeah. Skeletor and his army return to Castle Grayskull with He-Man as their prisoner. Skeletor taunts the sorceress with his accomplishments, stating that soon all of the power of the universe will soon exist within him. He then turns to taunt the shackled He-Man. Skeletor now has his sword of power. But then why do they torture him with a laser whip?
Because it's a cooler special effect.
I guess. Back on Earth, Gwildor sets up their makeshift cosmic key. Skeletor taunts He-Man more. As the new moon rises, Skeletor absorbs the power of the universe and turns into a golden god. I did not like this costume, guys.
What? That's exactly how I want to be dressed on my wedding day. If it weren't already super expensive, I'd be getting it custom made.
I was dying to see the traditional Skeletor, like, purple robes.
And you know what? This is the funny thing, too. Like, on that documentary I mentioned earlier, like, they had Frank Langella on it, and he said he was, like, working out really hard for the movie, and he was ready for it, and he took the part because, you know, he wanted to impress his kid, because his kid liked He-Man and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, we're just covering you up. He's like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
He's like, you look at the He-Man, and especially because he was going to be opposite Dolph Lundgren. He said he was in the best shape of his life and all that. And then, he had to be covered up the whole time.
Oh, that sucks.
The design, though, almost made it look like he was covered in a weird golden crystal. Which kind of makes sense, I guess, when you look at the sorceress, too, who is also, like, a key to the power. I don't know. I didn't think about that until just now.
I just didn't get how the power was being transferred and why there was a moon that somehow dictated that. And
it never explained it, to my knowledge.
No. They didn't. Like, they just had the sorceress trapped and then said Skeletor was somehow siphoning her power, but they didn't really explain how.
Yep.
Not at all. I guess really, like, you would have to, like, dig deep into the origin of Skeletor, where he was kind of like a magician at first, wasn't he?
I thought he was more of, like, a mercenary, because he was, like, one of Hordak's, like, underlings.
Oh, no, like, the actual origin story of Skeletor.
Oh, he was like a magician type guy?
Oh, God, I don't know if I want to say anything now, if it's going to spoil anything for you. I don't know if they cover it in the new show, but it's definitely been in the 2003 series.
Yeah. I mean, I saw when he was Keldor, and he was really handsome, and then he got the acid on his face fighting Randor and stuff. But yeah, I didn't know he was like I don't remember him being a magician or anything. And I only saw that episode, like, the time it aired, so...
Yeah, he had some weird magic abilities, and yeah, he was the king's brother.
Yeah.
So he's He-Man's uncle.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
No, it's okay. I've got, some wild uncles that want to destroy me as well with all their magic and sorcery.
Kevin repeats the tones of the cosmic key on the new setup, and he, along with the other Eternians and Lubick, get transported to the Grayskull throne room. The shoot-up begins. He-Man frees himself. Man-at-Arms shouts orders, and Lubick goes batshit with a shotgun, taking out troopers left and right.
It's as sweet as it sounds.
It is. It really is. More back and forth gunfire. He-Man knocks over statues. Evil Lynn gets the henchmen to prep escape ships and abandon Skeletor. He-Man tries to reclaim his sword. Skeletor electrocutes him repeatedly with his new powers, but cannot stop Eternia's greatest hero. He-Man grabs the sword, and the two foes battle.
You forgot to say he grabs the sword and says, I have the power, looks sweet, is glistening, and then they battle.
Yeah, I needed more lightning, I think.
What?
I agree. I can see more lightning.
What good is getting all the power of the universe and becoming a golden god if your lightning can't even stop He-Man from walking over and picking up a sword? How powerful can you really be?
He had like some I-beams too. He had these really badass I-beams, and they didn't do anything.
These are questions. These are definite questions. He-Man then shatters Skeletor's staff, and he reverts back to his old self somehow. So I guess it was just magic armor. They tussle again, and Skeletor is knocked down what seems to be a bottomless pit. Celebrations ensue. Lubick decides that he's going to stay on Eternia.
Why? From what we've seen of Eternia, it's like a desolate wasteland.
Yeah.
Because he's apparently treated like a hero. He's got some new babe that's okay with, this weird Earthman grabbing her butt whenever he wants. And that's it. he just says he's going to hang out there.
So in other words, he's staying because he can't get any on Earth. Got it.
Maybe.
Got it. All right.
Also, we don't really see any food there. So I wouldn't just be like touting about the fact that I'm eating grapes in front of everybody.
We don't.
Some poor bastard's like, he's got food!
The first time he turns
He-Man's
around,
eating all the food.
He decides to stay. The first time he turns around, says, "Hey, can I get a hamburger? What's meat?" Shit.
Julie, Kevin, wait! The sorceress gives Julie a glowing orb. She and Kevin say goodbye to their Eternian heroes. No goodbyes, good journey. The humans return to Earth, where Julie discovers it's the day of her parents' death. Julie assures her parents that she wants to spend the day with them, averting the treacherous flight and ensuring their survival. She runs out into the street, where she meets Kevin. They both admit that they remember Eternia, and He-Man yells, "I have the power."
Hey.
Roll credits. But before we get to that, we have to wait for our post-credit scene that shows Skeletor emerge from a pool of liquid, stating, "I'll be back," and then giving what looks to me like the super creepiest uncle smile.
And then I actually when I saw it in theaters, I obviously didn't catch that part, but I watched it on VHS, whatever, a year or so later when it was on video, and then for some reason let it play, the credits play, and then saw that scene, and I went nuts, and I yelled up for my brother. I'm like, "You gotta see this! Oh my god, he lived!" Like, that was a big deal for me. And in my heart of hearts, I felt like the pool of liquid was the slime pit, because that was hands down my favorite He-Man playset. Like, I was obsessed with Ghostbusters and later Turtles, but anything that had slime and I could make a mess with, I loved. And the slime pit was just the coolest toy set. You put a guy in it, you open the thing, and the slime pours on them, and then they get all slimy.
Yeah, that was a really fun playset.
It was the best.
I knew a lot of my friends had that, and we all had Castle Grayskull. I never knew a single kid that had Snake Mountain.
We actually had Snake Mountain.
Oh, it's so cool.
Like I said, he was an only child for such a long time. He had it all.
Oh, that's crazy. Jealous.
Though it didn't have very many parts to it, so I do recall that, and I do. And yeah, because I just got the Origins Castle Grayskull, which was just a re-release. But I'm like, man, the one I had growing up didn't have any of these parts because my brother had destroyed them somehow. I'm like, this thing is so sweet, but now I'm too old to play with it.
Not true. Not true at all.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So, what did we all think now that the film is over?
Can I ask a question before we get into that?
Sure.
Was the good journey part, was that something that happened in the show, or is that some sort of catchphrase that they tried to get going in the movie? Like, where did that come from?
I don't remember it in the show. That's not to say it wasn't used. It's just I remember it mainly from this movie. So
it felt off. I don't know why. Like, it just didn't seem like anything that the characters were really behind.
Also, nobody in this movie has had a good journey.
Yeah, Lubick did.
No. Julie does. She gets her parents back and all that, and Kevin got to go on an adventure and
that's the
sprung
payoff.
on top and save the day for no reason.
The actual journey part, though, getting thrown through interdimensional portals, being shot at, chased, being blown up,
whatever the hell happened to Julie's leg.
Yeah, Julie's leg.
I wonder if she's got a weird scar for the rest of her life because of that.
Yeah.
Or was she transported into her body before, on the day her parents died? Like, I mean, I guess that's the way it is. Her consciousness went into her younger self, her however many months it was before she was going to move.
I realized that the key could move people through, like location. I didn't realize it could travel through time as well.
I guess so. That Gwildor, he's a crafty fellow, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's why that scar is still there.
Is it?
Well, it's not like they just transferred her memory into her previous body, unless that's a new thing that Key can do.
They might have. It's not like they were going to explain it to us.
Because
either way, we couldn't tell in that giant bedgown thing she was wearing, even though she was like 17 years old. What? She was dressed like she was Little Orphan Annie or something.
Wardrobe in that movie for that scene should be ashamed of themselves.
Who wore that? All right, now granted, I was a teenager in 1987, but I'm pretty sure no one wore that at that age.
Pretty sure nobody wore that after, like, 1950s orphanage Christmas movies. Like, what is this? Ridiculous.
Yeah, like, she's lucky she wasn't wearing a bonnet.
I got some earth-shattering news for you, gentlemen.
You had one?
That was an actual style in the mid to late 80s for teenage girls.
What?
No, I'm not buying it.
It was actual sleepwear.
No, I'm not buying it. No.
You don't have to.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's true. I'm not saying it's good, and I don't understand how that would be comfortable by any means, but it did exist.
Not for the cool girls in school. That's all there is to it.
I'll give you that.
You weren't invited to a sleepover if you had that.
Accurate.
All right.
Wait, are we talking about me now?
What's that?
Nothing. Never mind. Let's move on.
All right, Ben, take us through the particulars. How did this movie fare?
Oh, it flopped.
Okay. Why?
Would
you like to elaborate a little bit more than that?
Yeah, it had a $22 million budget and made $17.3 million.
Oh,
at box office.
Oh my gosh!
Now I don't understand how that could be the case because it's the first time it was released, and it's not like it had that split group of people who love it and people who hate it. It was the first time we were getting a live-action He-Man film, so it must have been some weird marketing issue. I guess marketing to children as opposed to people with actual disposable income who would want to go on dates or something. I don't know.
See, and
also it wasn't called He-Man, so there might have been brand confusion as well. Like, yeah, you knew if you collected the toys, Masters of the Universe is He-Man. That's the name of the toy line. But a lot of people just straight up call it He-Man. They don't call it Masters of the Universe, so people didn't know what the hell it was.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this before. Back in the 80s, it wasn't like the internet age. You couldn't get reviews instantly, right? You had to get it specifically from magazines or, like
newspapers, yep.
Yeah. So you would think that the name recognition alone, at least initially, would drive a lot of a lot of viewership because, you know, had the movie been really bad, say when the first Ninja Turtles came out, I wouldn't have cared. As a kid, it was Ninja Turtles. I'm going to have to force my parents to take me, so there's some more movie tickets. It doesn't matter if the movie gets bad reviews at that point. I'm still going to see. I don't know how Masters of the Universe at that time wouldn't have just driven more sales.
Yeah. It was just at the tail end where He-Man wasn't popular anymore, I guess.
I find that so hard to believe, but yeah, what else could it really be?
It's crazy. I mean, the kids had kind of grown up and moved on to whatever was the cool new thing. But in 1987, Transformers were around and were still kind of hot. And yeah, there wasn't like anything that was like that thing. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't until 88, 89 that the Turtles hit the scene and exploded.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, well, Ben, what are the ratings like, my friend?
The IMDb one, I personally agree with. I'm sure Joe will disagree. I don't know about you, Sandro, but IMDb, it's sitting at a 5.4 out of 10.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, just you wait. Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter, so the critics have it sitting at a cool 13%.
Oh.
And the audience score there is 40%.
Ooh.
So this movie is not
60% of the audience needs their ass whipped.
These are not Joe's people. That is for sure.
I'm messing, you know.
Yeah, I guess there's not really much to say about that. We might as well just shift into our awards, eh?
No, I got to say one thing.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Ben. Thanks.
Sorry, no, I just realized this, and I don't know if Joe will catch on this, but the way this movie was filmed really reminded me of a TV show, a live action science fiction action TV show when I was growing up. Gary Goddard directed this movie, and he's known as the creator and director of Captain Power. Do either of you know Captain Power?
I'm almost positive I had the toys of that.
It had interactive toys that you could play while the show was on TV.
Those were pretty sweet. I liked the bad guy. I liked any figure that had like a cloth cape. So the bad guy had like this. He was like a cyborg dude and had a purple cape, and then Captain Power looked pretty sweet too.
Also wearing gold armor.
Yep.
Anyway,
no, I do not know Captain Power.
All right.
Is that it?
I don't think I ever watched it, but it was a live action show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw a single episode of it.
Oh, you're not missing out. Don't get me wrong. It really reminded me of certain elements of He-Man.
Yeah, I can definitely see it.
Did you two want to start doing the awards then?
That is the next segment. Yeah, absolutely. And I love putting our guest on the spot, so I'm going to get him to lead in our awards here.
Oh, man.
After him, we'll go in our traditional order. So, Joe, who did you have listed for the worst performance?
I'm going to say Kevin, because I hated that guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not necessarily his performance, because I just don't want to say a bad word about Dolph Lundgren, because I love the man. But, you know, this was like one of his very first movies. He was in James Bond movie for a cup of coffee, I guess, before this maybe. And he was also, of course, Ivan Drago, but he just had to stand there and be imposing. And in that, you know, I give his performance as Ivan Drago a 13 out of 10. Perfect.
Oh, so good. Such a good
knocked
movie.
it out of the park. And, you know, he didn't have to do much but look intimidating. Here, it was like the first time doing his thing, and he was leading the charge. He was the title character, and he had to... In a way, he did a great job of being the cartoon He-Man, because he was just he was smiling a lot. He didn't really have much intensity. Despite how dire things were, he was just kind of just like, oh, Chucks, well, Skeletor, here he is. Gotta stop him.
To be honest, I didn't even think he got enough screen time as being He-Man in the Masters of the Universe movie, but...
He really didn't, and they tried to because they were trying to disguise it because his lack of acting chops at the time by having his co-stars get more screen time. So they were trying to, kind of camouflage that a little bit.
All right. So in our traditional order, Ben, you would start off worst performance. Who did you have?
Dolph Lundgren.
No hesitation whatsoever.
I love Dolph. I really do. I just think he was miscast in this movie for one main reason, and that is he lacked the charisma that He-Man has. You were right about the smiling and the chuckling and like, oh, it's a Skeletor, then we got to fight Skeletor again. But there was something that was in the way even the mini comics were written and the way that the character was voiced in the cartoon that just was absent in this movie. And I think that's all experience. So he can get away with that because, as we've already stated, this is a new career for him. But he just wasn't there specifically for me as the star or supposed star of this movie that should have broken off into a franchise.
I mean, they were close to having his lines dubbed over because he was having difficulty with English.
And that's just it too. I think it was a poor casting choice. Maybe like after he'd had some more experience with the language and acting itself, I think he could have been great. It was just too green.
Because, you see him in anything now, and, he's very articulate, like any interview, anything. He's a very articulate guy. And it was just one of those things, just kind of miscast, but he had a lot of physical charisma was the thing. People saw him in Rocky IV, and they're like, this guy is a star. Here we go.
Yeah.
But even, like, you look at his early and mid-'90s straight-to VHS action movies, and you're like, where were you in Masters of the Universe? You're like, this is exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
But
we needed Universal Soldier Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
We needed Thundergun Express Dolph Lundgren.
Where is Red Scorpion / Army of One Dolph Lundgren? Sandra, what about you? Who's your worst performance?
So this is where I get Ben to hate me, truly. I'm going with Chelsea Field as Tila.
I mean, I can see it.
So
I'm not arguing you, man.
So Ben, is this our last episode ever for me saying that, or?
It depends, Joe. What are you up to once a week for the next foreseeable future? No, man. I really like Chelsea Field. I don't think she did well as Tila.
The thing that I got the most, and maybe this is the problem with me picking her because perhaps it's not her fault, it really felt like her character was pretty directionless, and that might be either the scriptwriter or the director's fault. But for me, the tipping point was not knowing how to hold a gun. So,
yeah.
All right.
But also, like when you look at the character in the cartoon, she was never really the jokey, goofy one. She was always the one to like try and keep Prince Adam and He-Man in check and like give that look like, are you serious? Like she was the level-headed one, and she did not come across as that in the movie. So it might be the way the character was written, but even if that's how the character was written, she still didn't do that well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. I was like, yeah, that's not what she's like in the show. That's yeah. Anyway, Joe, I hope that we actually have a unanimous pick here, but I'm going to ask you, who had the best performance?
Guys, there's no contest. It's Frank Langella. Come on.
Ben?
Frank Langella.
And I had Frank Langella. Do we really need to say any more than that? I mean, if you watch the movie, which
Mumbo Jumbo.
Okay, that's Ninth
That's
Gate.
the thing, man. I love that, he was very dedicated to the role, and he wanted to do it, and he's like a classical actor too. So he was like he really liked the opportunity to do something so off the wall and different and extravagant like Skeletor. So, and it showed. He had a lot of fun with the role.
I feel like anybody who watches this movie, that's all the evidence they need to know why we picked him. Because he is the one that seems to give a damn the most. And he's just a great actor, and it shows here.
Yeah. Honestly, if they wanted to make more money off of a Blu-ray release, redesign the cover art and make it a dark Masters of the Universe with Skeletor front and center. Because the character is great in the movie. Langella's performance and portrayal of the character is absolutely amazing, and he steals everything. Any scene he's in, you're watching what he's doing. You could even just have him a voiceover and not actually be on screen. I'd be paying more attention to that than what I'm seeing.
It actually makes it so that the biggest shortcoming of the movie is that they didn't give him even more screen time.
And they just did such a great job with the costume, too. I thought he looked so cool. And this is a little off topic, but I was really annoyed with the Black Widow movie I just saw because they had a really cool villain in it, which you could have literally done the exact same thing for Taskmaster, and it would have worked in 2021 the same way it worked here in 87. They could have made it a little better probably with the technology, but still, he was very expressive even with that rubber mask on, and they could have done something like that with that character in the movie. And they didn't, and that was annoying. It just shows that Skeletor was just visually stunning, and it was perfect.
And one great thing about that too is this character is not the Skeletor we see in the cartoon, not even the Skeletor we see in the comics. But they changed him, and like they changed every character, but he was the only one to make that actually work in the movie. So you can attest that skill to him as well, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
Unanimous pick for Frank Langella. All right, Joe, this one might be a little bit tougher, but your favorite or most memorable, whether that's good, bad, or otherwise, line in the movie.
God, dude, there's so many that have stuck with me my entire life. So it's actually it's ridiculous, like how kind of shaped I am by this movie, like subconsciously. There's every now and again, do you guys ever get like things where your mind kind of will play a snippet from like a TV show or whatever in reaction to something that's happening in your real life or whatever?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like for me, like when it's like my mind, I'll be thinking maybe I should have kissed this guy's ass more. Maybe I should do this, whatever. I always think of the scene where He-Man is just like, "I'll never kneel to you." I don't know why, but that line of dialogue sticks out and it like echoes in my head. But my favorite line of the movie is just Skeletor when he just says, "Yes, let this be our final battle," and then they just do the clash of the sword and the staff. And fun fact that we actually didn't talk about, they do that cool scene, and then if you recall, it's very dark for the rest of the sword fight. Did you know they actually like shut down the production during that?
Yep, that scene was filmed much later. And because they didn't have a budget, that was the director's tactic early on, knowing or assuming they were going to be shut down, building a little bit of a loophole to say that the clash leached out all of the power in the room, and that's why it was such a dark fight scene. And it wasn't even Frank Langella, it was actually the actor who did Blade that was in the costume for that fight.
He was the stunt coordinator, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was like really well versed in like sword fighting and things like that, so he taught like Dolph a lot of the ways he should move, and apparently the sword that Lundgren had to use was just heavy as hell. It was a problem.
It looks like it.
So Joe set the bar pretty high. He gave us a most memorable and a favorite line. I didn't do that. But Ben, what did you have?
Well, I mean, easily the most memorable line is not my favorite line. The most memorable line of this movie is "I have the power." I mean, come on, it's He-Man.
Okay.
That was definitely my number 2.
My favorite line is Skeletor. And it's super moody and everything, and I'm obviously not going to do the impression. But it was, "Do you hear?"
No.
Yeah.
That is what I have written down.
"The Alpha and the Omega, death and rebirth, and as you die, so shall I be reborn."
That is exactly what I have written down.
Yeah. But like
sweet line. He has a lot of cool lines, and even at one point he says, I'm paraphrasing, but he says something along the lines of, "Is being a hero as lonely as it is as being evil." It's like, what?
And that goes back to what I was saying too about Skeletor always being a comedic villain to me. And like, I was 5 when this movie came out, and I was like, "This isn't funny."
Yeah, he was
This isn't funny at all.
He was a scary dude, and that's what was cool. Like, I mean, he had so much fun doing this role, like, and it shows. Like, I appreciate this movie solely because of Frank Langella's Skeletor, for the most part.
All right, well, we have one last award left. Sorry, Ben. Were you going to say something?
No, it's fine. I'm very curious about most memorable scene.
All right. So, Joe, last award. Let's take it on home. What was your most memorable or favorite moment or scene in the movie?
Definitely when He-Man says, "I have the power," and then they clash with the sword and the staff.
Yeah, hard to.
It's you know what? It's a toss up between that and the post credit scene, because as a kid I was like, "It's a slime pit. That's my favorite thing in the world." So that personally resonated with me, despite the fact that it looks like boiling water. But I'm saying it's a slime pit.
Honestly, I am now realizing, like, coming into this, I didn't have a most memorable scene picked. But I realize now why I hate this movie. Because after talking with you two about it, I don't hate it. But I know now why I've hated it for so long. My most memorable scene from Masters of the Universe is fucking Gravy Beard Gwildor. I hate it so much. And whenever someone mentions this movie, that's the first thing I think of.
Well, I mean, it fits the exact definition of memorable, if that's the only thing that comes to your mind when you think of a movie.
But we've had so much fun just talking about it. And, like, yeah, the downs for sure. But there's a lot more ups that I forgot it actually had. A lot more pros than cons. But I will never get that out of my head. And that's why I don't like Billy Barty in Legend, too.
Oh, man, you need to let it go. It's been a long time. Just let it go.
Yeah, I'll try.
I actually had what sounds like was Joe's runner-up. I had written down the Skeletor post-credit scene.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great scene. And at the time, I mean, how many post-credit scenes were there in movies that we're aware of?
Yeah, I don't know if it was done every single time like current Marvel movies. And at the point I go to the theater and I just want it to end. Don't have a post-credit scene. I don't want to sit here anymore. But back then it wasn't a trope, it wasn't a commonality, it would have stood out. And even just like, I mean, I'll Be Back really reminded me of like Arnold and, you know, Frank Langella being front and center after him having this amazing performance throughout the entirety of the movie. Like it was like the perfect exclamation mark at the end of the film.
Yeah, I can't deny that. It's 100% accurate.
All right.
As something like, I don't think can we think of any other movies from that era that had a post-credit scene like that? Like, I feel like that was the very first movie I ever recall having one.
I can't think of one, not from 87 or before.
I'm the wrong guy to ask about movies. I don't even know what I'm doing here. All right, so I will let Joe go last on this one because I put him on the spot enough. But Ben, final recommendation / thoughts on the movie.
If you can ignore Gwildor, this movie's a blast. If you've never seen the cartoons or read the comics or played with the action figures when you were a kid, this could be a really fun film. If you have done those things, you're expecting a lot that you're not going to get in this movie. If you're okay with that, this movie's a blast. If you're not, avoid it. But for $22 and change $1 million budget, with the star power they have in this, yeah, they did a fair amount with a little bit of money. I would recommend watching this, and then maybe going back and watching the cartoons, maybe reading some comics, or even going back to the newer shows that were released. But I mean, we're talking about this because we're all excited for the new one to come out. So watch this movie and then get into to the new series. What is it? July 23rd?
Correct. That'll be part 1 for it.
Yeah.
So I have obviously a very different take because I watched this movie as a fresh fan with no expectations. And I have to say, in that regard, it is like the exact type of 80s cheesy action type of movie that I find fun. I would say it's probably best watched with friends where you can have a couple laughs at what's going on and just kind of chuckle away some of the cringy parts. Knowing what I know now, I might say it could be a little bit tougher for some He-Man fans to enjoy it because I have difficulty connecting the two. But as a movie in and of itself, is an easy recommendation. All right, so Joe, what do you have to say?
Oh man, thumbs way up for me. I obviously it's not the greatest. It's not what it could have and should have been, but it's so charming in what it actually is, and it's just got that classic '80s feel to it, and it's very different. There's nothing really like it for the time, and you know what they were trying to do. So I really enjoyed it, and it's just there's nothing stronger than nostalgia. There really isn't.
Yeah.
I can't. Like I was taken back to being a kid again watching it, and yeah, I loved it, man. It was like I was watching it in the theater again, and I remember the day as soon as I got home, I had to dig in the toy chest and pull out all my He-Man guys and play with them and all that, and I was tempted to do that right before the podcast. But,
Me too, man.
Dude, I love it. I love this movie. It's like I said, you gotta. If I'm bringing someone, I want to show it to somebody, I'm gonna let them know ahead of time. Hey, this was from '87. It was very ambitious, and it's entertaining. I think it's from a time where people just enjoyed things, and I still really enjoy it.
Quick amendment to my comment. It's not a good movie. It's just a potentially fun movie. And
Yeah,
exactly.
if for no other reason, watch it for Frank Langella.
I would like to say that to anybody who doesn't know He-Man or has a vague idea and they're considering watching this movie, first watch the documentary Electric Boogaloo. It's the history of the Canon Film Group who made this movie, and you see what genre of filmmaking they excelled in and how they did it for next to no budget. It's a really entertaining documentary, and everybody I know who I've told to watch it and they've watched it, they get pretty jazzed about it, and then they start watching the movies that the company did, this being one of them, and they all enjoy it. So that could be good pairing. I mean, how many documentaries are there, Joe, about the Motu?
There's
brand?
quite a few out there.
Yeah. Even like episodes of The Toys That Made Us.
Yeah, that was fantastic too. It's just so cool just everything that went into the toy line and how they made it. And just when you think about the development of Cringer, they just took a tiger and painted it different colors, which is from another toy line. And they're like, this is his trusty sidekick. Cringer becomes Battle Cat. It's like, sweet. Like, it was just the way the whole line was a hodgepodge together. Like, it's brilliant.
My childhood cat was named Battle Cat because of this.
That's awesome.
I do have one question for both of you. Maybe Sandra, you could give me some insight on this. Do you think that this material would make for a good modern video game? Do you think there could be a new He-Man game?
No.
No, not on next gen.
Not on this movie.
No. I mean the product itself, the characters, the world itself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. At the very least, you could rip off, and we're getting a bit of a revival when it comes to retro video games, like they're making a new Ninja Turtles beat 'em up. If you look at something like that old 6-player X-Men arcade beat 'em up game, something like this would work amazingly for one of those.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Exactly.
Yeah, me too.
Streets of Rage, beat 'em up type of thing, X-Men arcade, because you'd have all the cool good guys. You'd be able to do He-Man, be able to do Clamp Champ, Man-at-Arms, Tila, Fisto, Ram Man, whoever, and they'd all have the cool little fun powers. Like, it'd be great.
The biggest benefit, sorry Ben, the biggest benefit of this movie is that you've added the robot characters so that you have fodder for every level, which could then be capped off with a boss. That's why the Ninja Turtles worked, because you had the foot soldiers. X-Men worked because you had Sentinels. Like, you have to have a generic enemy that you can fight throughout the duration of a game like that to just then come to the named characters as the bosses. So you're fighting through, probably just palette swap different color robots until you get to the end of the level, and that's when you fight. I mean, if you want to go on the movie, hopefully not, but that's when you would fight like Beastman as a boss and so forth.
Just defeat him with ammonia.
It's heartbreaking. And then he shows up like in Skeletor's throne room, and he's like bleeding profusely. It's like, how'd you get your ass beat that bad? You were literally a giant grizzly bear, man. How'd this happen?
Joe, I love that you brought up Streets of Rage, because Streets of Rage 4 is one of my favorite modern games. And I was looking at my movie closet during like a quick load screen, and I saw my first DVD set of the He-Man cartoon, and I was like, you did He-Man Brawler with the animated styling of Streets of Rage 4. It would be perfect, and I would never put that controller down.
Yeah, and I mean, they even redid like a few, it's a decade ago now, but they redid, they like made it kind of 3D, and they did Turtles in Time as an Xbox Live downloadable game.
It was called Reshelled, and it was terrible.
You didn't like it?
No, the 3D really took away from it. If they had just done the 3D for foreground and background, it would have been fine, but the angles really ruined the combat mechanics on that one. They actually did later just release arcade port true to the arcade versions of the Simpsons arcade game and the X-Men arcade games, and those were much better done. Made me wish that they just did a true Turtles in Time arcade remake.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. And I mean, I just loved those games, and I didn't have Super Nintendo growing up, so I didn't get to play Turtles in Time too much until I went down to my buddy's house down the street. But I did have Turtles Part 3, the Manhattan Project or whatever. That was awesome on Nintendo. And Turtles 2, the arcade, which was somehow better than the arcade game because it had the extra bosses and stuff.
Loved it.
I still have my original Turtles in Time Super Nintendo cartridge. I'm never getting rid of that thing.
That's awesome.
You know what was awesome? This episode. Joe, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I was just dying for an excuse to watch this movie again. So,
would you just do us one more courtesy and just tell our listeners where they can find you, hawk your product, whatever you want them to know about you right now?
Well, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Thunderlats. There's only one, baby. Thunderlats, the ultimate male, the genetic jackpot, the jacked and tan businessman, the warlock of wit, weapon flex, the tan lantern, the monarch of mass. It's been a while since I ran through them all, but you get the picture. So yeah, follow me, hit me up. Getting back in the ring later this month and handing out some butt kickings all over the country. Hopefully heading to Canada soon to defend these Smash Tag Team titles that we're still in possession of. So it'll be a good time.
Can't wait to see it.
Amazing.
Now, we close off every episode with this question that I ask Ben, but as you are our guest, I get to ask you this question. What movie are we reviewing next week?
You know, I already had some stuff lined up of what I was going to pick. There were 3 things, but we'd mentioned it earlier. And Sandro, you've never seen They Live. So you guys got to do They Live.
What do these things want, and why are they here?
You still don't get it, do you, boy?
They have recruited the rich and the powerful.
They're running the whole show.
Wake up! They're all about you, all around you. Blinded us to the truth.
Take a look. They are safe as long as they are not discovered.
I don't know what they are or where they came from, but we gotta stop them.
Stay away from me.
Put these on. They have us. Look at them, they're everywhere. Our owner.
We have no other choice.
I don't like this one bit.
Leave it alone, man. It ain't none of my business, ain't none of yours. We have been lulled into a trance.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. We're in trouble. The whole world's in trouble.
Control us.
You're sending some kind of signals out of TV sets.
I've got one that can see.
Mama don't like tattletale. Now we start spilling some blood.
Let's go! Push a button.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Joe, I love you.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I promise.
All right. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you everyone for listening. Until next week, have a great one.
All the best, guys.